On the coronavirus, also with Foreign Affairs, House Foreign Affairs, Representative Nicole Malliotakis. It's great to have you back on again, Congressman. Okay, former State Department officials telling CBS that significant information about the Wuhan lab was buried inside U.S. government databases, didn't reach their desks for nearly a year. What is going on here? What do you think?
Well, this is new information that we certainly didn't know. This is a classified report. And we're learning more about this now. Certainly what did come up in our hearing yesterday, which Republicans had to have on their own because Democrats refused to participate. It seems they're not interested in knowing what the origins of this virus are. What came up was very much credible evidence, mounting evidence that suggests that it did indeed occur in the Wuhan lab, that this was certainly not something that occurred from animals, which is something that I know many had criticized President Trump for suggesting it was in the lab, and he got a lot of criticism from the other side. But at the end of the day, more questions came out of this hearing. I mean, what we'd really like to know now that we heard all the testimony yesterday is, what was the Chinese military involvement with this lab? What particular function did our tax dollars go? And how come the WHO covered up for CCP, allowed CCP to alter their report, and denied United States medical professionals participation in their investigative team? The only individual they allowed were not the NIH-recommended doctors. It was the head of EcoHealth, which we know is the intermediary where that funding from NIH had passed through to go to the Wuhan lab. So there's a lot of dots, I think, that could be connected here. And it's really interesting, and we want to continue to pursue this to see where it goes.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan said it would have been helpful if Dr. Fauci came and testified. Yeah. He's asking why the silence from Dr. Fauci. He was invited to talk, but then he's instead going on television. That's what Jim Jordan is saying of Dr. Fauci. Jim Jordan is saying Dr. Fauci is, quote, afraid of something. First, let's listen to this from Jim Jordan. Watch.
First, Dr. Fauci knows there's a lethal virus on the loose that started in Wuhan, China. Second, he knows the American taxpayers have funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China. Third, he knows that the research grant didn't go through the required oversight board. Fourth, he knows the virus, quote, looks engineered and, quote, not consistent with evolutionary theory. And finally, fifth, Dr. Fauci knows he may have ties to this work in China. His fingerprints, in fact, may be on this. But it would have been nice, Mr. Chairman, if Dr. Fauci would come today and answer our questions. He could have come here and defend himself, but he didn't have the courage to do it. You couldn't go a day and not see Dr. Fauci somewhere. Now, when we have emails that he's sending out at 12 and 2 in the morning, and we have this gain of function that didn't go through the process it's supposed to go through, and we have all this evidence, suddenly you can't find him.
Well, in Dr. Fauci's defense, he might say he didn't want to go because he didn't want to be attacked. He's saying this was just a minor collaboration with the Wuhan lab. What do you say to this?
Well, I think first and foremost, there are redacted parts of the Fauci emails, and some of it refers to the Wuhan lab theory, and that part was redacted. We deserve to know, for transparency in the public, what was said in those emails. And number two, look, I think the media can help here. If he's going on TV so much, they need to ask these tough questions that we would have asked him yesterday had he come to the hearing. But I think it is very telling that the Democrats didn't want to participate, and being that they're in charge of the actual COVID subcommittee, that they refused to have a hearing on the origins of this virus. They refused to subpoena Dr. Fauci to come testify. They refused to require and subpoena the head of the EcoHealth, who was the only individual as part of the WHO investigative team, even though it was not authorized by the NIH. So there's a lot of questions here where I think the Democrats could actually join us, and this should truly be a bipartisan issue. We had 600,000 American lives lost. We have 4 million people worldwide. So it's not just incumbent upon the Democrats, but it's incumbent against all world leaders to get to the bottom of this so we can hold Communist China accountable, so we can ensure that this never happens again, so we can better prepare for a future pandemic.
All right, Representative Nicole Malliotakis.